What's up, Valorant fans? Welcome back to the Valorant Report. What a day we had today in the FaZe Invitational. I'm IHOLDSHIFT, and hopefully this is still your go-to spot for competitive Valorant recaps and analysis. We had a day today. We had a really big day today. We continued on with the playoffs, in which we would play through the upper bracket semifinals, as well as the upper bracket final. With that, we would also get 2 rounds in the lower bracket, dealing with round 2 and round 3. So all in all, we would have 3 total teams left to finish off the rest of the weekend coming back tomorrow. Let's dig at the very top. Sentinels playing up against Team Envy. This one, a good one, a very good one. And Envy, after just taking down Cloud9, you thought, goodness gracious, they very well might do this as well, as they started things off on split, and, well, it wasn't really going all that well for Envy. Only taking 3 offensive rounds. They were down 9-3 at the half. But how about the defensive prowess from Envy? They take 10 rounds, only giving away 1 to the Sentinels and take map 1 13-10. Ascent would be up next. Not a great defensive start for Envy, but this time no comeback in the cards, as Sentinels would close them out with a very strong defensive side, not really needing too many rounds. It would be a 13-7. Our final map would be Bind, and again, Envy not really showing us on defense what we need to see from a team like Envy going up against a team like the Sentinels. Only taking 3 rounds away in the first half. They would then go on to a big offensive spree, but it wouldn't be enough. Just too much ground needed to be covered. 13-10, Sentinels take the series 2-1 and move into the upper bracket final. In our second matchup, TSM would go up against the Immortals, who have looked clean throughout their group stage as well as in the playoff versus Gen G. Yeah, there was one tight overtime game, but the games that Immortals won were very convincing. So for the matchup versus TSM, could you find a way to essentially force TSM to continue to make some of the mistakes that we had seen previously from this squad? One of the bigger criticisms is their retakes and their executions get a little bit sloppy when numbers do not really turn out the way they expect them to. Well, I'll give you just a quick breakdown here. TSM had no problem in this one. They took 10 rounds on Haven in their first half, closing out with a very easy 3 to follow up, 13-5 map number 1. Ascent, they would start on defense. They would get 9 rounds there. Not a lot of room for Immortals to come back into it, as they would also lose the pistol. TSM able to take the second map, 13-4. And what an absolute comeback effort for TSM after having a really rough kind of day. They have a rough game 3 versus T1. They bounce back, they get themselves going, and now a 2-0 versus a good Immortal squad has them feeling good. So they'll play up against Sentinels for the upper bracket final. We'll continue on with that here in a minute, but let's jump down to the lower bracket, where we would get Immortals playing up against Cloud9 first. And this is one of the best series of the weekend, period. It was absolutely a barn burner all the way through, starting off on Ascent, in which Cloud9 would start off on the attack first, and it would be pretty even. They take 7 rounds, not bad at all. Just to the 5 defensive rounds of Immortals, you thought Cloud9 would have some favor, but wait a second. It's Immortals who come back through, able to force an overtime in which things would go very well quickly, a little back and forth, but Cloud9 would eventually secure things up with 2 in a row, 15-13. Incredible performance from JC, Standing and Asuna, but Tens and Friends just too good overall. Tens would pop for 27 total kills in that one. Bind would be our second map up, and Immortals this time through, you thought, okay, how do you recuperate after that overtime loss? They didn't recuperate instantly. They'd lose the pistol plus the following 2. Not a great first start for their attack, but they would come back nicely, taking 7 of the back 8 rounds in that first half. Not a bad way to go. And then how about this? Defensively, Immortals perfect from the second half, 13-5. Forces the map 3, of which we'd go to Haven, and Immortals on attack looked solid to start. A little bit of a late surge for Cloud9, keeping things even, a 7-5 half. As we'd go into the second, Cloud9 win the following pistol, keep things tight, but in the end, it would be the Immortals who were able to close things out with 2 consecutive rounds, 13-10, no overtime here, and Cloud9. Surprising loss here. Although, to be fair, I think if you were to put Cloud9 versus Envy or Gen G, they probably beat those 2 teams. Immortals just on the day looked like the more complete squad here, and definitely showcasing that even though Cloud9, in my opinion, is still a top 4 squad, they still have some cleaning up to do. When they start to face some resiliency, sometimes they kind of completely disperse, and it doesn't really look like the same Cloud9 team that we've come to know over the last couple of weeks. So for Envy and Gen G in the other matchup here, Envy again, after coming off a strong performance versus Sentinels, you thought we were going to have a good look here. And, well, they did have a good look here. The problem was the simple fact that Gen G were just looking a little bit better. First map would be Bind. Gen G would go on a 6-round spree on the attacking half to give themselves a 7-5 half, and then defensively too strong for Envy, not really giving them a chance to get anything going whatsoever. 13-6 was the first. Then we'd go to Split. And my goodness, what a game we had here between these two squads. Envy able to at least start off the first half on attack with a good 5 out of the opening 6 rounds, but Gen G would battle back, keeping things relatively even. And then as soon as there was a couple of sprees back and forth, 2 rounds here, 3 rounds there, back and forth, it would be Gen G who needed to win 4 rounds in a row to force an overtime. And by golly, they were just barely able to do it in miraculous form. We'd go to the overtime tied 12-12, and Gen G would make things not nearly as interesting here, as they would take both overtimes consecutively, winning the matchup 14-12, sending Envy home and Gen G into the losers bracket final, in which they would have to play up against the Immortals. This was another fun one, man. I'm telling you, we had good games pretty much all the way throughout the day, but Immortals defensively on Bind for map 1, absolutely dominating Gen G through and through. 10 straight rounds for Immortals. That cushion too big for Gen G to overcome. They take the Bind 13-6. Going over to Split, you thought there very well may have been the exact same thing lined up, as Immortals would take 4 out of the first 5. Gen G would bounce back a little bit on their attack, but the final 4 rounds defensively were good for Immortals. You'd swap over to their attacking half, and they would take 5 straight rounds to give them a 13-4 masterful win. Dicey's looked great. By the way, we didn't really mention the fact that we haven't seen Bjorn now in a while, and on the Liquipedia it says that Dicey's just a stand-in, but he's been playing really well all weekend long. Kohler and Stanny as well, still having great performances. Gen G no match here. So Immortals find their way into the losers finals, which of course means we need to figure out who'd be playing up against them. And well, we got our 2 best maps of the evening between Sentinels and Team Solo Mid. Ascent. Map number 1. Attack looking okay for Sentinels initially. You win the pistol, you feel good. But what about this? TSM defensively able to close out 10 rounds straight, a 10-2 half. You thought, okay, Sentinels, what the heck is going on? You're about to get smoked. Not so fast. Sentinels able to come out in their defensive half. They take their first 6 rounds, keep things close, but the gap was just too much to make up. TSM would eventually get an economy they could work with, and they secure map number 1, 13-9. Wardell, 27 kills. 13 deaths. Unbelievable scenes through and through there. And then Haven would be up for our second map. Very back and forth. It's about as back and forth as you could possibly get, considering that it would go all the way to an absolute dead stop tie, 12-12 into overtime, back and forth through 6 different overtime rounds, and then eventually Team Solo Mid said, we're done with this. Let's let the rampage loose. They would win 3 in a row, not only able to even things up, but then take the win 18-16, and what I think is the longest overtime game we've seen, at least in North American Valorant so far. Incredible performance. Drone would find 31 total kills, Sinatra 38. If you missed the series, go back and check it out. Not only because the games were good, but we got to actually take a look at DDK and Sean Garrett on the cast, and we've missed that. We've missed that style of casting since day one. Absolutely insane stuff from them. A brilliant breakdown of every single game. Insane stuff. So tomorrow, we've got to do predictions for you guys. We've got Sentinels going up against Immortals. And honestly, Sentinels lost to TSM, but the fact of the matter is this Sentinel squad is still playing as one of the best squads in Valorant, period. When they're down, they find a way to make things close. I mean, you take a look again at that first map on Ascent, 10-2 half. You don't like that look. Sentinel's still able to make it a 13-9. It's not bad. I like the way Immortals have looked, but I think Sentinels is the more complete squad here. I've got this one going a full 3. I think Immortals can take a map, but I got Sentinels taking it 2-1, which of course will give us a rematch in the grand finals on my mind. TSM versus Sentinels has to be the final again. It just has to be. We deserve it after what we saw tonight with the 2 maps that we got to. It would be a best of 5 there, and I'm not even going to put a prediction on it because I think that both teams have showcased that either one of these squads can win. TSM have made the adaptations they need to beat this Sentinel squad, and while they've made those same kind of adjustments, they have actually cleaned up a lot of their own individual mistakes. So if they can continue to play complete Valorant, this TSM squad very well could be back on top very soon. And then we can go back to talk about how TSM is the best team in the game if they win. We'll see how that all unfolds. I hope you guys enjoy these recaps. I have a lot of fun doing them. I know our viewership is not super high. Our sub count is still going up though. So hey, the community is growing, and it's all because of you guys coming back. So thank you so much. Make sure if you're not already subscribed, you do so, and you ring the notification bell on the way out to know instantly when my videos pop up. And of course, beyond that, we hope you guys enjoy the final games and keep holding it down. Later. Bye-bye.